second verse. Exodus 15, 22. Say, I have the word of God. Say, I have the word of God. All right. Then Moses ordered Israel to set from the Red Sea, and they went into the wilderness of Shur. And they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. And when they came to Moriah, they could not drink the water of Moriah because the water was bitter. He cried to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a piece of wood. He threw it into the water, and the water became sweet. But the Lord said, I don't want to leave you on temporary fixes. Never make something permanent that God only means to be temporary. Then the Lord made for them a statute and an ordinance, and there he put them to the test. He said, if you will listen carefully to the voice of the Lord your God and do what is right in his sight and give heed to his commandments and keep all his statutes, I will not bring upon you any of the diseases that I brought upon the Egyptians. For I am the Lord who heals you. Then they went to Elim, where there were 12 springs of water and 70 palm trees, and they camped there by the water. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, I know I'm bitter, but God gonna make it sweet. I want to talk from the subjects from bitterness to sweetness. When I grew up, there wasn't a lot of options what you're gonna drink like it is now. Now you can get cranberry and grape. You can get ocean spring. But when I grew up, you had two choices: water or Kool-Aid. Y'all remember Kool-Aid? Kool-Aid, it's great. And what I didn't like about Kool-Aid is Kool-Aid never tastes good at first. Don't you remember? First time you be mixing it, and your mama say, taste this, it be bitter. You say, ah. And what she used to do? Put some more sugar. And then taste it again. Is it ready? You say, no. You say, it needs some more sugar. Wonder we still alive, all the sugar we put in the Kool-Aid. The object was the sugar would make the bitter Kool-Aid sweet. You know what? Life can make you bitter. I know we come here looking all splendiferous, walking around with spiritual overtones. I'm blessed and highly favored. 99 and a half won't do. But I'm going to just be honest with me today, and you can act more spiritual than I am. That's okay. Sometimes I look back over my life, and even though I survived it, it still took something out of me. And sometimes I go to God because I say, God, I know you had the power to remove the storm out of my life. But the fact that you intentionally made me go through it, sometimes it can lead to bitterness. Sometimes when you lose loved ones too soon, and you're looking at someone else who is not so spiritual as you, and here go Benny the bum lived to 107, don't go to church, never went to Sunday school, and all he did was play the numbers on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And here you are doing the right thing with God. Can I be honest this morning? Is this all right? Because sometimes we come to church to avoid circumstances, and that's how come we don't gain traction, because God doesn't want us to avoid it. Sometimes he wants us to deal with it. And life will present challenges in our lives that if we're not careful, we'll move on, but we won't deal with the bitterness. Can I preach this morning? I wish I had some married folk that can testify. You can't always move on. Sometimes you got to deal with the mess. Because the mess you avoid in 2013 will pop up in 2018. And some of us are still bitter about our own lives. Then what makes you, have you ever been bitter because you think you should be further along than you are? Have you ever been bitter because you think you've been passed over too many times? Have you ever been bitter because you're so disappointed and you thought God would move in your life by now, and he's moved in everybody's life around you? He done blessed your neighbor. He done blessed the back row. He done blessed the front row. He done blessed the usher. And you still, Lord, I'm still standing in the need of prayer. And if not careful, God, you will think God will make you bitter. The reason why life will make you bitter is because, here it is, God does not call us to avoid storms. I need to call my old pastor. He said to me, when you come to Jesus, all your trouble will be over. That was a lie. They told me when I come to Jesus, everything will be like Sunday. The devil is a liar. Some of us, when we come to Jesus, they forgot to tell me that when you come to Jesus, you got to pick up your cross. They forgot to tell me that Jesus said whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever wants to lose his life for my sake. They forgot to tell us that when you come to Jesus, there requires some sacrificing, and there's going to be some ups and going to be some downs. And I've come to tell you, Alpha, you can't get to the other side without going through hell. And the problem is we want to package a commercialized, capitalized faith that suggests the moment we have trouble, we ought not. The devil is a liar. Life will be filled with trouble. But to prove you're a Christian is not if you go through trouble, but how you handle when trouble comes. And what proves your spirituality is not how you're doing on Easy Street, but how you handle when storms come knocking at your door. Do you plant your feet on solid ground and worship your way? Look at your neighbor and say, I didn't know I was saved until I went through. Because then when I went through, I didn't act like I used to act, because God's power rose up in me. I wish I had some married folk that could testify, some single folk who could testify. Sometimes you got to fight to hold on to God's unchanging hand. Do me a favor before I get to my text. Look at your neighbor and say, I don't know what you're going through, but hold on to God, because he'll work it in your favor. Can we be honest? Is there any people here that ever been bitter besides me? Thank you. I just want to make sure I ain't the only one. Here's my assertion. Jesus says that you got to walk through the valley of shadow of death. We quote the 23rd Psalm, Deacon Grooms. We quote barely 23rd Psalm, but I don't think we know what it means. He did not say you will not go through the valley. He did not say you'll go around the valley. He said, no, you're going to go through the valley and the shadow of death. What that means is there are going to be some death-like circumstances. I'm not, oh, y'all not going to help me preach here. Oh, God, I wish see, I'm not taking the storm out of your life. I'm going to give you life while death is looking you in the face. Woo. There's some of y'all who've gotten a diagnosis that wasn't favorable. And when I see you in church, the 23rd Psalm pops up into me. Because when you could come to church and you have sickness and ailment and don't know how much longer, y'all not going to help me here. And some of you ungrateful folk that got all the health in the world, pick and choose when you come, the devil is a liar. God have mercy. Here's my assertion that as you travel through life and find yourself in the wilderness, God can take you from bitterness to sweetness. God can. Not people. Stop putting weight on people to make you happy. Only God can heal you from hurts of the past. If you remember, Israel just got the victory over Egypt. God did not only deliver them from their captive, but he dismantled them by the Red Sea. It's here where Professor Todd Magnum suggests that we are acquainted with the wrath of God. Oftentimes we preach the grace, the love, and we present at our own demise a mamby-pamby God where you think that will let you get away with everything. But we serve a God that you can push too far. And Pharaoh in his ineptness, Pharaoh in his stupor, Pharaoh in his pride and arrogance pushes God to the limit. And when he pushed God to the limit, God's wrath works in the Red Sea. And we better understand, people of God, the reason why we ought not fret at injustice is because God is an angry God. The same God that promotes is the same God that demotes. The same God that puts up is the same God that tears down. Y'all missing it here, but I'm all right. That's why you don't get mad at folk that's over you, that's dogging you. Because when God is ready, y'all not gonna help me here. When God gets angered, he says, touch not thy anointed. That is not just for the preacher. That's for all of us who are called under the name of my God. Don't you fret over your life. You just keep your hand in God's hand, because God said, in a minute, I'm going to push them with my finger. And when I put my finger on them, I mess their whole life up, because God is a just God. Magnum suggests that the wrath of God is imminent and powerful, just like his mercy. He says now, but the joy is that the people of Israel made it over the Red Sea. And the people of Egypt died in the Red Sea. I just got to pause right there. I am yet ever thankful that some stuff that killed others some stuff that took other folk out. I went through the same thing. But God, yes, sir, and his infinite mercy, not only did it bring me out, but it brought me out in my right mind. Woo. I don't want to talk to everybody, but I want to talk to some folk that almost went crazy. But in the midst of your almost insanity, God pulled you back and kept you. Is there anybody here can testify that God kept me? When others capitulated and fell by the wayside. Now let me tell you what makes you bitter. Let me tell you what makes you bitter. It's going to get a little ugly, but then it'll get better after a while. Let me tell you what makes you bitter. Then Moses ordered Israel from the Red Sea. They was in the wilderness. First thing is a despairing circumstance. They were 3 days with no water in the wilderness. Heat exhaustion. You expect after the miracle that it wouldn't be a storm. But right after the miracle, God sends them into the wilderness and there's no water. Then after you have a despairing circumstances, then you get disappointed. Can I show you disappointment? They find water, but when they finally found the water, instead of it being good, it was bitter. So not only do you have to deal with the despairing circumstances, but now when you think you finally got blessed, you find out the very thing you thought was a blessing end up being a curse. And so now you go from a despairing circumstance, and disappointment is dangerous. You know, you can walk around with disappointment and act like you all right. And then this is what happens. This is when you know you're bitter. Can I show you? Then you go through what we call displaced anger. Then they complained to Moses, and they're angry at Moses. Because whenever you're bitter, you take your anger out on people who closest to you. Y'all not going. I know I'm teaching today. I don't need an amen. You can tell you're bitter because you start fussing at your children. Husband and wife start going off on each other. Come on, talk back to me here. You start getting angry, start getting nasty, and the real issue ain't y'all, it's what we call displaced anger. You're taking out your anger on somebody it's not intended to. Okay, since y'all so spiritual, let me throw myself on the exam table. Y'all all that. When my father died, he died October, and Christmas was December, and all the kids was around, and I was snappy, laying everybody out. I was just on the roll. Some of the words I use ain't for this place. We'll say that for the benediction. I was so bad, I was going to one. Have you ever gone to a room and everybody leave when you show up in the room? And it's your house? The dog even looked at me and said, I don't even want to fool up with him. He crazy. Wasn't nothing right. Chandler said, Dad, I need to talk to you. I said, girl, who you talking to? Dad, I need to talk to you. My oldest got a little, she get on my nerves. She a little spunky. She take after her mother. She shut the door, tears rolling down her eyes. You ain't the only one hurting. Now y'all felt that. Dad, you take it out on us because you lost your father. She said, but don't you mess up Christmas because we all hurt. Y'all missed it right there. And what some of us need to do is apologize to the people that's closest to us because we dogging them for no reason, and they the people that love us the most. Can I tell you what makes bitter worse? What expands bitterness? Not only does it make it worse, here's what expands it. Whenever you complain, you supersize your bitterness. They came to Mount Moriah and complained. Now I understand the complaint. I really do, but it's the timing of it that throws me, the timing. Can I show you why the timing of it? If I slip you to the early part of 15, they was just singing a song about God's deliverance. All the verses from verse 1 to 23 is a song about God's greatness, about God's sovereignty, about God being committed to their future. And then right after Miriam writes the song so that the women can dance to the music. So basically, let me put in context, they having Sunday worship. They shouting and dancing in the church. And then the moment an obstacle comes, they go from shouting, dancing, running around, whatever you want, speaking in tongues, Humahama Messiah, to complaining. Here's the problem. Can I push the envelope? They should know by now that God has no problem with water. Because right before this, what did he deliver them from? And what is the Red Sea? God already showed them he knew how to handle water. So if he could handle water before, y'all missed it, surely he can handle water now. And God stopped me by here to let you know that he's got to help you with your bitterness, but you got to look back over your life and see how many times he brought you through and carried you over. And what makes you think the God that split the Red Sea then cannot give you water now? So they complain. They complain. And you see in here a trait with why these people will never make it into the promised land. And the reason is they're an unstable spiritual foundation, and the moment something went bad, they start complaining. And their complaints start small now. But by the time it gets to the point that they should possess, their complaining gets so big that God said, let them walk around and let them all die. And the Lord challenged me because we're so quick to speak words of destruction in our own lives. We're so quick to wrap words of death around our own lives. And God told me to tell you, pump your brakes with your complaining. First of all, you better know there's always somebody in a worse situation than you. Oh, well, let me say that again, you missed it. There's always somebody in a worse situation than you. I was riding down here on the way to church. I saw people in wheelchairs that were homeless. I saw seniors that were homeless. I saw a baby and a mother that was homeless. And I start thanking God because no matter how complex I believe my predicament is, there's always somebody in a worse situation. So what we've got to learn how to do is to be thankful in all things and to be thankful for what God is doing in our lives, where we are in our lives. Is there anybody here that's thankful? Thankful for what God is doing in your life. You might not have everything you want, but you're thankful that through it all, God is with you. Do me a favor. Just give God a thanksgiving. Just thank him. Just find one good thing to wrap your brain around in the midst of your tragedy and trials, and open up your mouths and for 10 good seconds tell the Lord thank you. Oh, touch 3 people, say, I'm thankful. No, tell them I'm thankful. Tell them I'm thankful. I got food on my table. I got clothes on my back. Oh, I'm thankful. I'm in my right mind. I'm thankful. I might be a little overweight, but I am thankful. Well, how then, preacher, does God heal bitterness? I'm glad you asked. First thing you got to do is you got to cry unto the Lord. Hear me, church. You can't keep the bitterness in. And can I say this, y'all? See, sometimes you forgive people, but you're still bitter. Forgiveness does not mean just forgetting what they've done. It also means releasing the bitterness. And some of y'all are in relationships and you can't move forward because you keep bringing up something happened 20 years ago. And the reason is because as soon as something reminds you of it, it brings the bitterness back. Some of y'all, if you're going to reconcile, one of the key components of Christianity is forgiveness and reconciliation. Jesus comes into the world to reconcile a world back to him. Reconciliation is the substratum of Christian faith. So that means when you reconcile with a brother or sister, you got to let go of the bitterness. But some of y'all don't want to let it go because you like it. The bitterness has given you an excuse not to move on. So now, whenever you feel like God is moving, you can throw your own personal pity party and go back to your past and say, but and my daddy didn't take me fishing, and and the reason, oh, be quiet. All of us had to go through something. Come on, if God be for you, who can be against you? You don't know how hard it is for me. You don't know how rough it is. You know, my daddy never took me fishing. I never went fishing either. You was 79 years old talking about you ain't went fishing. You don't understand. When I was in the 9th grade, my boyfriend left me. And ever since he left me in the 9th grade, I've had low self-esteem. Have you seen him lately? If you've seen him lately, you would see why God didn't allow y'all to stay together. You ought to be running around this church thanking Jesus that he left you because you'd be just as crazy as his ex-wife. And if you still see somebody that did something to you 3-4 years ago and the pain come right back, you ain't forgive them. Well, y'all see, y'all don't want help here. It's some of y'all in church. Well, since I'm here, I might as well go here. Y'all worship, shout, preach, hallelujah. You go out that side, because if you go out on this side, you're going to run into somebody that you don't like. You don't even know what this side of the church look like. You go in there and be like, we got a tape table? When we get that? Because you're so busy avoiding somebody, all you do is go out one way. What happened to the old school in the Bible says if somebody offends you, go to them? What happened to that? My brother, you offended me. Well, I'm sorry. And let me say this. And what's wrong with accepting an apology? We're going to offend each other because we're human and nobody's in here perfect. So there's going to be some offenses. But you got to learn how to forgive people who crazy because you crazy too. So you forgive my crazy, I forgive your crazy, and we be crazy together in the Lord. All this self-righteous stuff going on in here. And what gets me is, I've had people get mad at somebody, for me to do something to somebody. And I'm like, but we just heard you did that last month. But you think because God hasn't uncovered your stuff that you can judge somebody. No, if you're doing the same sin, it's still sin, and keep on waiting. God will uncover. All right. Moses cried unto the Lord. You got to start crying to God and getting the bitterness out of you. Because if you keep holding it, it's going to explode. Married couples, hear me. Hear me, married folk. You got to hear me. Don't wait 30 years to talk about a problem you can talk about today. They call this thing emotional cutoff. It's when one or the other has been disappointed so much that they become bitter, and then they emotionally cut themselves off. So what you want to do is find out what's going on with you. And listen, this is what they're going to say, nothing. I done been in the land of nothing. Oh, nothing. If they say nothing like this, men, it's something. Ain't nothing wrong with me. Here's what they say. You didn't care now. Now you care. Oh, Lord Jesus. Oh, Lord Jesus. Oh, now you're concerned. Just go on and buckle up and go on take the lashing. Ladies, hear me. I know he gonna act tough. What's wrong? Nothing. They ain't gonna beat your chest. Me, King Tut. He hurts just like you. Can I be honest? I might even say men might be more sensitive than women. Now, we might let ours out in anger, but some might say we got some emotions too. And so because it's hard for us to articulate it, it builds up, 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 it builds up. Then all of a sudden you see a 30-year marriage and he says, I'm not coming back home no more. And you say, well, what happened? I just cooked you fried chicken. You forgot I became a vegetarian 30 years ago. Oh, I missed that. Oh. And all the time, he just took the fried chicken and gave it to the dog, because he gave it to the dog. And then he said, she can't love me if she don't know I've been vegetarian for 30 years. All because nobody wanted to have a confrontation to deal with the bitterness and cry out to the Lord. Am I making sense what I'm saying? Even in families, don't let your brothers and sisters, don't be crying at the casket. Oh, what am I going to do? You're gone. You had all this time. Now they at the casket. You rolling around, jumping in the tomb. No. Too late now. They're gone. Get stuff straight right now. And no matter whatever they tell you, you got to be willing, watch this, to forgive and not hold it against them. Watch this, y'all. Write this in your notes. People's truth matter, even if it's not true. Meaning, if it's true to them, it's important, even if it's not true. Does that make sense? So if I offended you, it might not be true, but it's true to you. So that makes it important. Are you with me here? So you got to get it off you. You got to lament. And some of y'all are walking around carrying too much weight, and then you wonder why you go to the doctor and they say cancer. Because I don't believe our bodies were made to handle this much stress. Are you with me here? And so now, watch this. Watch this. So now you keep it, try to keep it together, try to keep it, and then the church don't make any help because we reinforce it. Just hold it together. So you got to, I'm too blessed to be stressed. whoever came up with that, I'm going to fight them myself. When I get to heaven, I'm going to say, Lord, before I worship you, can you tell me who made up that too blessed to be stressed? I'm going to talk. Because the devil is a liar. Jesus always lived under tension. He never had peace without tension. And what you got to learn as the Christian, that there'll always be some tension, there'll always be some stress, and you got to learn to be duplicitous, to have some suffering on the left side and some joy on the other side. I'm going somewhere, help me get there. He cried to the Lord. After the supplication comes the revelation. Jesus said, hey, God said, hey, it's a stick over there. See, church, you can't get healed unless healing comes from above. The problem is you're looking for healing to come from beneath. You can satisfy your flesh from beneath, but you can only satisfy your soul from above. And here's the problem. The problem is when you mix it and put your flesh above your soul, and then you look to live a Christian life to feed your flesh, only to find out what you put in your flesh don't satisfy your soul. So what you got to understand, you got to hook up to the transcendent. Okay, how did I make it clear? You got to hook up to the God that's bigger than you, so that when you go through stuff that's bigger than you can just hook up to God, because nothing is bigger than God. Say, hey, there's a stick over there. I said, Lord, what's the revelation of the stick? He said, nothing. I just wanted them to do something stupid to prove to them it wasn't them. I said, well, Lord, give me some proof that you'll just do something crazy. He said, remember the blind man wanted to be healed? I said, go spit in the dirt. Remember the leper that wanted to be baptized? Go dip in the pool 7 times. He said, sometimes I'll ask you to do something that everybody will think is crazy. But don't you worry about everybody else. You just do what I tell you to do. And if you do what I tell you to do, I'll take you from bitterness to sweetness. Supplication, revelation. Sister Paige, but this is where we stop. We don't ever get to application. We love the supplication. We love when the pastor gives a good word. But that's not where Moses stopped. Moses took what God said and applied it to his life. Woo, I feel good right now. Help me, Holy Ghost, preach it. The reason why some of us ain't where we ought to be, because we're good churchgoers. We're wonderful within the church confine. But when it comes to applying the word in your life, we're hearers of the word. Oh, help me, Lord Jesus. Oh, preach T.Hinson. But we're not doers of the word. And what I pray every time, I pray, Lord, help me live what I preach. And I need to tell you, it's easier to preach than it is to live. It's easier to hear the word than to do the word. Can I preach like I feel it? But is there anybody here tired of coming to church and still being the same? Is there anybody here that's looking for a spiritual revolution in your soul? And you're not coming to church to blame nobody but yourself. Can I get somebody to say, it's me, oh Lord, it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of. I went to the doctor about 6 months ago, and he gave me the prescription. Said, I need you to watch your high blood pressure. Said, I want you to work on your diet a little bit. I don't need to tell you about your weight. You know what it is. So we've been having this conversation for years. Y'all, y'all love laugh. I don't really think y'all love me. Y'all just like laughing at me. That's what I think it is. And he wrote me a prescription. That's 3 of them there. One might be for my mental health, but that ain't none of y'all business. One might be some Zoloft, I think, So my wife know me. I'll go to the doctor just to get off my back. Because don't worry, waiting on you. We need you. I'll go. But this time she got smart on me. She said, where are the prescriptions? And you know when somebody asks you a question you weren't expecting, so you tell the truth and you really want to tell the truth? But, huh? Oh, it's in my pocket. Oh, Lord, I didn't mean to say that. She said, give me the prescriptions. I said, why? Because she said, we're going down to Rite Aid right now. I said, today? Guess we did. We went to Rite Aid, fulfilled the prescription. Right? He said, come back at 7 before we close. So I said, baby, don't worry about it. I'll pick them up. Got there at 7:12. Now, I got the prescription. I got the revelation. I went to the doctor with supplication and told him. So then I go there. Ever's getting smart as we get older, so I got to figure this out. The stuff I used to trick up with the 30s don't work in the 40s. I got to come up with some new tactics. So she goes and picks him up herself. I said, this little church going to your head. Here's what she said. The doctor said the pills can do nothing. The pills can do nothing until you take them. This word can do nothing. I don't care how much I hoop. I don't care how much you like my personality. I don't care if me and Craig sing, praise and worship sing. Until you apply this word to your life, you'll just have revelation and no application, and your life will still be bitter. Here's the miracle of the text. God turned the water sweet. But God said, this is not what I want for you. This is just temporary. God said the bitterness, the sweetness was only the first step in the blessing. But the problem is some of us get stuck at the last miracle. God says, I've never meant for you to make permanent something that was only temporal. He says the reason why some of us can't get more of God is because you think what he gave you is all he wants to give you. But God says, I don't want you just at the place of bitterness, at Mount Moriah, because without the stick, it's going to get bitter again. It's almost like being addicted to prescription drugs. The prescription drugs is never meant to be permanent. And you got to learn when God is changing up how he wants to deal with you. He says, I don't want you to drink sweet water no more. Because sweet water make you feel good, but it really don't quench your thirst. I want to take you to Elam. And in Elam, there's 12 springs of water. Oh, y'all missing it here. There's 12 springs of water. And there's 70 palm trees. Can I preach it like I feel it? He says, I gave you springs of water, not so that I can just get you some water, but they use the water to feed their families and their flocks. Y'all got to excuse me here, but I feel like having church. The Lord just don't want to bless you for you. He wants to bless you for everything that's around you. That God says, if you trust me and you lean not to your own understanding, and in all your ways acknowledge him, not only will he bless you, but he'll bless your seed. Look at your neighbor, say, neighbor, God has a blessing for your whole family. Go on, look him in the face. Say, neighbor, oh neighbor, I don't know what you're going through, but God got a blessing for your whole family, because everything that's in your bloodline is going to be blessed. Is there anybody here that believe God will, yes, bless your bloodline? He'll break generational curses in the name of Jesus. Touch 3 people, say he going to bless you. He going to bless you coming in. He's going to bless you going out. He's going to bless you in the field. He's going to bless you in the city. Can I preach like I feel it? And I'll stop by here to tell you where was the water at. The water was in the wilderness. I'm done. The water was in the wilderness. I'm done. The water was in the wilderness. Y'all missed it. The water was in the wilderness. Y'all didn't get it yet. The water was in the wilderness. Y'all still missed it. The water was in the wilderness. I said the water was in the wilderness. I stopped by here to tell you that God won't take you out the wilderness, but he'll put water in the wilderness. So be not dismayed. Whatever be tried, God will. Oh, y'all not going to help me here. Do me a favor. Go find one person and look them in the face. Go find you somebody and look them dead in the eyeball. Go find somebody and say, neighbor, y'all not helping me, neighbor. I know you're in the wilderness right now, but God will supply all of your needs in the wilderness. Won't he do it? Go find somebody else. Go find somebody else. They looking like they tired. They looking like they pressed down. They looking like they want to give up. They looking like they want to throw in the towel. But the devil is a liar. Tell them you can't quit yet. The wilderness, but I've stopped by to tell you that God will provide in the midst of your wilderness. Won't he do it? Y'all not helping me today. Go find somebody else. Go look them dead in the eyeball and say, neighbor, y'all not helping. Say, neighbor, I don't know what you're going through, don't know what you're in right now, but I come to tell you, Erica, that God will supply your needs in the midst of your wilderness. Won't he do it? 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 Ah! God will take care of you. Y'all got to forgive me now. I think I'm preaching to myself now because I've been through some weary days. I've had some hills to climb. I've had some bad days, but I still believe that God's not finished with me yet. Is there anybody here that believe God's not finished with you? This ain't for everybody, but right, there's about 30 of us that know that God ain't through. I dare you to give God a praise. praise. I dare to go after God. I dare to praise his name. I dare to worship his name because God, because God, because God. He ain't through. He ain't through. Just touch your neighbor and say, he ain't through with you. No, look him and say, he ain't through with you. He ain't through with you. Just tell him again, he ain't through with you. Tell them when they start praising, he ain't through with you. He ain't through with you. He ain't through with you. He ain't through. Yeah. Yeah. Something in me, I feel good today. I feel good today. I feel like running. Ain't nothing chasing me. I got joy in my soul because I got a feeling. I just want to have a little church, mama, that everything gonna be all right. Can I tell my story? I ain't got all the money in the bank. Sometimes I got to rob Peter to pay Paul. Oh, yes, Lord. But the Lord's been good to me. I've had some ups. I've had some downs. I've had some hills to climb. Had to fight 25 years to stay married to the same woman. But through it all, God's been faithful. I thought my mom was going to die, but he kept her alive. I thought my kid would be crazy, but I got 2 in college. And Junie told me last week he got a call to preach the gospel. Don't tell me what God can't do. If you hold on, if you hold on, if you hold on. Ah! Ah! Hallelujah.